My garbage person of the week is going to be Alex Jones for reasons that I will describe in just a minute. But before we get to that, you might have read the glorious news that finally, at long last, InfoWars is not long for this world and it is soon going to be acquired, as it should have like a year or two ago, by InfoWars or by The Onion, to be turned into like a parody version of itself, and they'll do some different stuff about it that'll have more value and worth to the world than InfoWars ever did in its entire run. So all of that's good, but you might be wondering, how is Alex Jones handling this coming transition? Well, earlier this week, right after I made jokes about it, about taking my shirt off and eating pulled pork on the show, that's how you'll know I became a conspiracy theorist. He took his shirt off to then lose it on air. Can you imagine? And that guy has to sit there, Brett. Can you imagine you're doing the main show? Cenk comes in, rips his shirt off, and just standing there next to you. But this is how it works. So that's fine. Look, a little bit of like a knee-jerk insanity is to be understood. It's a big transition or whatever. Now he's had a few days to process it, and let's check back in and see if he has a more adult response.
The creative director that is being brought in from Adult Swim, they say to take over InfoWars, which they haven't done yet, but they think the fix is in this court hearing next Thursday, has put out all this pro-pedophilic, pro-murder of children, really hardcore Satanism crap on Adult Swim a decade ago, and since then more. He went on a program yesterday and said, yes, I'm stealing Alex Jones' identity. I am taking his skin. So we'll get to that towards the end of the hour, which you're not allowed to do that. But remember, they said in court filings, the 13th Amendment against slavery does not apply to Alex Jones. We can own his identity. No, you can't. I mean, they've been flipping the switches here. Kind of like in 2001 where they're just turning off the HAL 9000. They're just going on the line. So I don't know if we'll even make it to next Thursday.
So first of all, awesome. Second of all, I love that in his metaphor, he is the villainous robot that needs to be stopped. It's like, dude, did you see that movie? We were just talking about it. Also, he said he's gonna take my skin. You can't do that. No, I don't. He's not actually gonna take your skin, Tim Heidecker. He's not actually gonna do that. But okay, so he's the villainous robot or whatever. But all of that is not actually why he's my garbage person. No, I want you to recall for a second how we got to this point. How is it that InfoWars is about to be taken over? Chiefly it's because of the lies over years that he said, the smears against the parents of Sandy Hook, implying that tragedy was anything other than the tragedy that it was. And obviously since then he's learned his lesson, right? No, it turns out that he's gonna go out the way he got in. Take a look.
So they just say Alex is bullying the parents of dead kids, raised $300 million off while saying I'm raising money off them. Didn't talk about him for almost 3 years before they sued me. Said 3 years before I thought it happened. Barely ever covered it. Realized it was a setup. The professors, the guys involved, they were working for them. Oh yeah, all a big setup. Because they killed those kids with professional shooters. And that's what they don't want coming out. It's in the police reports. There was a pile of kids in the bathroom in a pyramid with no blood.
Yeah, he didn't talk about it at all. Yeah, no, and he wasn't making like big money off of it or whatever. Okay, so all that's just obvious lies. He's still saying it was made up. He's still saying the exact things that got him to this point where InfoWars is about to be taken away. That is why he's my garbage person of the week. What do you think, Brett?
There's a great interview with, I think the I forget his name. He's in charge of The Onion. It's not Tim Heidecker, where he's like, I knew he was on, I forget who he was on with actually, sorry. But he goes, I knew the guy who was dating Ben Collins. So he knew a reporter, someone who was killed during a live shooting on air. And that person, the surviving boyfriend or fiance or husband or whatever of the reporter who was killed, like had to endure folks calling up and saying like, you don't exist, you're fake. That didn't really happen. It was all staged and didn't exist. And like what they're going through, Alex Jones has no value of. And then he wants you to think he is a bigger victim than people who were murdered. Because he doesn't want you to believe they were murdered. He's still alive, but his business has been killed. Like, I'm not gonna feel bad for you, dude. I'm just not.
Nobody should. Okay, well, let's talk about our garbage person of the week. 48,000 of you voted. 5% going to Lori Chavez de Remer, the former head of Department of Labor, for blaming the deep state after resigning after she was having an affair. 19% went to the IDF soldier for destroying the statue of Jesus. 19% also went to Scott Bessent for lying about gas prices going down. But it's pretty clear victory. 56% choosing Pete Hegseth as the community garbage person of the week for stopping the flu vaccine mandates for soldiers for stupid reasons. But let's get positive. The hero of the week, 5% goes to Summer Lee for grilling RFK Jr. over black maternal health. 7% to The Onion for their new deal to take over InfoWars. 31% to veterans for protesting against the war at the Capitol, but a big win, 56% to Virginia citizens for passing the redistricting bill that we talked about so much. Thank you to everybody. To the person in the audience who said, it's gonna be AOC, it's AOC every week. I literally don't know if it's ever been AOC. So I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't choose the people that end up on there. It's our producers. I have literally no input into it. So get all the way off my back.